Have you ever locked eyes with someone for the first time and felt like your soul already knew theirs? Not a word exchanged, no awkward introductions, just a strange, powerful calm, like your heart exhaled and whispered, "You're safe here." It's not luck. It's not some random cosmic accident. Carl Jung would call it synchronicity, when two souls align, not by chance, but because they're vibrating at the exact same frequency. It's rare, it's intense, and when it happens, nothing else in the world seems to matter. The conversations go deeper, the silence feels comfortable. You don't wear masks, you don't need to explain yourself, because this person doesn't just hear your words, they feel your energy. But let me tell you something most people don't want to hear. Not every deep connection is meant to last. Some people don't come to stay. They come to awaken. They arrive like a storm, powerful, unforgettable, and before you know it, they're gone. Leaving behind questions, clarity, and sometimes a crack in your heart that never fully heals. So how do you know? How do you know if this person is your soulmate, or just a mirror? A reflection of your wounds, your growth, or your unfinished healing? Let's break it down, because the truth is, some connections are your destiny, and some are your lesson. And if you don't know the difference, you might hold on to a ghost while letting go of your guide. Chapter 1. Synchronicity. The soul's timing is never wrong. What you meet in another being is the mirror of your own soul. Carl Jung. Have you ever met someone and felt something shift within you? It wasn't attraction in the traditional sense. It wasn't about looks, status, or charm. It was deeper, like the echo of something you couldn't name, but your soul instantly recognized. Carl Jung called it synchronicity, a meaningful coincidence where two people cross paths, not by chance, but by something far more profound. He believed that beneath all our conscious choices, there's an invisible thread connecting us through energy, frequency, and vibration. And when that thread tightens, two souls align in perfect harmony without either of them planning it. You see, most of us think relationships begin with logic, shared interests, timing, or physical chemistry. But the most powerful connections? They begin in silence. They begin in the energy field, unspoken yet undeniable. That's why you can meet 1,000 people and feel nothing, and then meet one person and feel everything. Because this isn't about surface. This is about resonance. It's like your soul is a piano, and they walk in and strike a key you didn't even know existed. Suddenly you remember a part of yourself that had been sleeping. They awaken something inside you, not because they brought it, but because they mirrored it. And that's the secret. You don't fall in love with them. You fall in love with the version of yourself that comes alive in their presence. Maybe they bring out your softness in a world that hardened you. Maybe they challenge you in ways that scare you but help you grow, but help you. Maybe they reflect your pain so clearly, you're forced to finally face it. That's the magic of synchronicity. It's not about perfect circumstances, it's about perfect alignment. They arrive at a time when your soul is ready, not when you're fully healed, not when your life is perfect, but when you're cracked open enough to receive a deeper truth. Because some people don't come to stay, they come to awaken. They're not your forever, they're your mirror, a guide, a spark, a storm. They shake your world, not to break it, but to show you what's been asleep inside you all along. So the next time someone enters your life and it feels like destiny, don't just ask, who are they? Ask yourself, what part of me are they reflecting back? Because the soul's timing is never wrong, and every synchronistic meeting carries a message, if you're still enough to listen. Chapter 2. You attract what you haven't healed. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. Let me ask you something personal. Have you ever looked back at your relationships and thought, why do I keep attracting the same kind of pain? Different names, different stories, but somehow, the same heartbreak, the same abandonment, the same emotional pattern repeating like a broken record. That's not fate. That's not just bad luck in love. That is your unhealed self doing the choosing. See, what most people don't realize is, we don't attract what we want, we attract what we are. More specifically, We attract what still needs to be healed inside of us. If you carry childhood wounds of not feeling enough, you will find people who treat you like you're not enough. If you have abandonment issues buried deep inside, you will fall for the ones who always leave. If your self-worth is built on shaky ground, you'll be drawn to those who constantly test your value, not because the world hates you, but because your soul is trying to get your attention. Pain isn't punishment. Pain is a teacher. Every broken relationship is not a curse, it's a classroom. It's showing you where you still bleed. It's reflecting the parts of you that are still whispering, "I'm not healed yet." But most of us don't listen. We blame the person. We curse love. We shut down emotionally. When in reality, it's not about them. It's about the mirror they held up. Because relationships, especially painful ones, are mirrors. They don't create your wounds. They reveal them. They show you the fear you buried, the trauma you never processed, the stories you tell yourself when no one is watching. And until you look into that mirror, not with blame, but with honesty, you'll keep attracting the same lessons in different bodies. The people who ghosted you, reflected your fear of abandonment. The ones who made you chase their love, revealed your hidden belief that you have to earn affection. The emotionally unavailable ones mirrored your own avoidance of vulnerability. Every person is a message. Every heartbreak is a wake-up call. And here's the hard truth. You cannot heal in the same place you were hurt, but you can heal by understanding why you were drawn to that pain in the first place. Chapter 3. Not all soulmates stay there are people who walk into your life like a wildfire. Sudden, intense, unstoppable. They don't knock, they don't wait for permission. They simply appear. And your world is never the same again. You weren't looking for them. You weren't even ready. But something in their presence that felt like home. Like your soul remembered them from a time before time. Everything about it is overwhelming. The connection, the chemistry, the conversations that stretch until 3 a.m. The silence that says more than words ever could. And so you start to believe, this must be fate. This must be love. This must be the one. But then, they leave, and you're left staring at the empty space they filled so effortlessly, trying to understand how something that felt so right could vanish so fast. You start to question everything. Was it real? Was it just you? Were you imagining the connection? Let me tell you the truth that few people are brave enough to face. Not all soulmates are meant to stay. Yes, they were real. Yes, the connection mattered, but that doesn't mean they were your forever. Some soulmates don't come to stay. They come to awaken. They show up when your soul is asleep, when you've forgotten your worth, when you've settled for less, when you've buried your truth so deep you don't even recognize your own voice anymore. And they come like fire, to burn away your illusions, to destroy your false beliefs, to break your heart, so it can finally open. It hurts because it's supposed to. Growth always does. And here's the most painful truth. We confuse intensity with destiny. We think if it's powerful, it must be permanent. But that's not how the soul works. Some people are not meant to be your lifelong partner. They are meant to be your divine disruption. They enter to challenge your ego, to trigger your wounds, to force you to face the parts of yourself you've ignored for too long. They are karmic. They are mirrors. They are warnings in disguise. And if you don't learn the lesson they bring, the universe will keep sending new versions of them, over and over again. A new face, a different voice, but the same pattern, the same heartbreak, the same lesson, repeating like an emotional loop you can't escape. Until one day, you stop asking, why did they hurt me? And start asking, what did this awaken in me that needed healing? Because every storm leaves behind clarity. Every wound carries wisdom. Every goodbye creates space for your true self to emerge. Some people are not the chapter. They are the sentence that changes the direction of your entire story. They weren't here to love you forever. They were here to remind you how to love yourself better. So instead of mourning their exit, honor their role. Thank them for the chaos, because that chaos pushed you closer to the truth of who you are. And when you finally heal, when you stop romanticizing pain, you'll realize the greatest soulmate you'll ever meet is the version of you that chose growth instead of attachment. Chapter 4. Love begins with wholeness, not hunger. The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Carl Jung. We live in a world obsessed with finding the one, the perfect person, the missing piece, the soulmate who will complete us. But here's the brutal truth. No one can complete you if you haven't completed yourself. Because love that comes from hunger is not love. It's desperation. It's dependency. It's an attempt to fill a void that was never meant to be filled by someone else. You attract what you are, not what you wish for. If your soul is full of chaos, confusion, and unresolved wounds, you will draw in people who mirror that chaos right back to you. Not because the universe is cruel, but because it's consistent. This is why the broken often fall for the unavailable, why the insecure chase the distant, why the lonely settle for less than they deserve. It's not fate, it's frequency, and frequency doesn't lie. See, energy doesn't respond to your desires. It responds to your beliefs, to your vibration, to your self-worth. So if you're walking through life hungry for love, validation, and emotional rescue, you'll attract partners who reflect your hunger, not your wholeness. They won't give you peace, they'll give you intensity. And intensity without stability is a fire that burns everything down. You'll think it's passion, but it's actually pain disguised as love. You'll think it's romance, but it's really trauma playing dress-up. Because real love doesn't feel like addiction. It feels like alignment. It begins not when you find someone, but when you become someone. Not someone perfect, but someone whole. Wholeness doesn't mean you never get triggered. It means you don't expect someone else to soothe every wound. It means you've faced your shadows, healed your past, and learned how to give yourself the love you once begged for. When you're whole, you stop chasing people who only feed your emptiness. You start attracting people who match your peace. You stop falling for temporary highs. You begin building with people who bring permanent growth. That's not magic. That's not luck. That's emotional physics, because when your frequency changes, your relationships change. The people who once felt magnetic start to feel chaotic. The ones who ignored you no longer appeal to you. And the souls who were meant for the healed version of you, they begin to appear effortlessly. Love finds you when you no longer need it to save you. It finds you when you've stopped asking, who will complete me? And started saying, I am whole, I am worthy, I am already enough. That's when love becomes not a transaction, but a transformation. Not two broken halves clinging to each other in fear, but two complete beings choosing each other in strength. So if you're tired of heartbreak, if you're exhausted by patterns that keep breaking you open, don't search harder for love. Search deeper within yourself. Heal your wounds, raise your standards, elevate your frequency. Because when your energy becomes whole, your love will too. Chapter 5. The Illusion of Forever. We grow up with a fantasy, a story, a promise wrapped in fairy tales and wedding vows that love, once found, should last forever. We're told that real love never fades, that forever is the goal, that if it ends, it must not have been real in the first place. But here's the truth. Life eventually teaches all of us. Not every soul is meant to stay. And that doesn't make the connection any less meaningful, because every soul you meet has a season. Some come into your life to teach you how to love. Some come to teach you how to let go. Some are a mirror to your highest self. Some are a warning of what you never want to become again. But none of them are mistakes. Even the painful ones. Even the ones that left you shattered. Even the ones that made you question your worth. They were lessons dressed as love. And the real mistake, it's not that the relationship ended. It's that we try to hold on when it's already expired. We beg, we chase, we compromise. We shrink ourselves to fit into a bond our soul has already outgrown. And what happens? We suffer, not because they changed, but because we didn't accept that we did. You see, when your energy evolves, when your frequency rises, some people will naturally fall away. Not because they're bad, not because you failed, but because your soul is no longer aligned with theirs. And no amount of effort, no amount of convincing, no amount of nostalgia can force two souls to fit when they've grown in different directions. It's like trying to wear shoes that once fit perfectly, but now hurt with every step. You can force them on, but you'll bleed for it. That's what happens when you cling to people who no longer match your vibration. You bleed emotionally. You suffer mentally. You get stuck spiritually. Because love was never meant to be a prison. It was meant to be a portal to growth, to truth, to freedom. When the purpose of a soul connection is complete, you'll feel it. There's a silence, a disconnect, a sense that something no longer fits, even if the memories still feel warm. And that's where the courage comes in. The courage to let go, to release the illusion of forever, to honor the love for what it gave you, and still walk away when it no longer feeds your soul. Letting go doesn't mean you didn't care. It means you care about your growth more than your fear of being alone. It means you finally understand. You're not losing them. You're finding yourself. Because the person you were in that relationship was still learning, still searching, still afraid to be alone with their own soul. But now you're different. Now you see that no connection is worth sacrificing your evolution. So stop trying to resurrect what has already ended. Stop clinging to people who made sense for the old you. Bless the bond, thank the experience, and walk forward, open, whole, and ready. Because true love doesn't chain you to forever. True love sets you free, to become who you were always meant to be. Chapter 6. The mirror never lies. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Carl Jung. It's easy to point fingers, to say, they hurt me, they abandoned me, they changed. But what if the people who trigger you are actually showing you the parts of yourself you've refused to face? What if that person who left you shattered wasn't a villain, but a mirror? You see, your triggers aren't random. Your patterns aren't meaningless. They're messages. Messages from your subconscious, messages from your soul. When someone irritates you, disrespects you, or makes you feel small, don't just look at them. Look at what they're reflecting back to you. Because every relationship, especially the painful ones, is a mirror. It shows you where you bleed, where you're still vulnerable, where your healing still has work to do. Think about that person you can't seem to get over. You replay the conversations. You overanalyze the text messages. You hold on to the memory like a wound that won't close. But here's the hard truth. They're not your destiny, they're your unfinished business. They didn't come to stay. They came to reflect. And what they reflected was your fear, your insecurity, your need for validation, your deep-rooted belief that love must be earned. You don't need closure from them. You need clarity within yourself. Because what you seek in others is often the thing you're withholding from yourself. Their silence triggers your fear of being forgotten. Their rejection triggers your fear of not being enough. Their distance triggers the wounds of childhood you never acknowledged. This is not about blame, it's about awareness. Because once you recognize that people are mirrors, not enemies, you stop trying to change them, and you start healing yourself. You realize that every soul you meet is either reflecting your wholeness or your wounds. The ones who uplift you, they mirror the parts of you that are healed, calm, and confident. The ones who trigger you, they mirror the parts of you still in pain, fear, or denial, and both are equally important, because both carry the key to your next level. The mistake we make is trying to escape the mirror. We block people, run from conversations, jump into the next relationship without doing the inner work. But the mirror doesn't go away, it just changes faces. You'll meet the same energy again and again, until you finally learn to look at it, not through fear, but through wisdom. Because when you stop running from the reflection, you unlock your transformation. That's when the cycle ends. That's when the lessons sink in. That's when the healing begins. So the next time someone triggers you, ask yourself, what is this showing me about me? That's not weakness, that's power. And that clarity, that uncomfortable truth you face in the mirror, that's the doorway to your evolution. Because the mirror never lies, but it does show you the truth you've been ready to see all along. Chapter 7. When two whole souls meet, there comes a moment, after all the heartbreaks, after the toxic cycles, after the long nights spent questioning your worth, when something inside you begins to shift. You stop chasing, you stop begging, you stop molding yourself into shapes just to be loved. And instead you start doing the real work. You look in the mirror and confront the wounds you tried to bury. You untangle your childhood stories, the ones that told you love had to be earned. You hold space for your shadows instead of running from them. You learn to give yourself the very validation you spent years craving from others. And somewhere along the way, you heal. Not perfectly, not completely, but enough to stand on your own. And when that happens, something incredible begins to unfold. The right soul arrives, not to fix you, not to complete you, but to meet you, exactly where you are. There are no games, no manipulation, no chasing, no anxiety masked as passion, just resonance, just alignment, just peace. You don't have to explain your worth. You don't have to perform to be seen. You don't have to fear their silence because their presence feels like home. This is the kind of love that doesn't ignite chaos. It calms it. It doesn't leave you questioning. It makes you feel sure. And for the first time, love doesn't feel like drowning. It feels like breathing. You laugh more. You rest easier. You trust deeper. Not because they're perfect, but because you are whole enough not to collapse if they aren't. You don't need them to save you. You've already saved yourself. You don't need them to fill the void. You've already filled it with purpose, with healing, with growth. So what happens when two whole souls meet? Magic. But not the kind that blinds you, the kind that builds you. It's not fireworks that burn fast. It's a slow-burning fire, warm, steady, and real. There's no obsession, just deep recognition. Like two travelers who have finally made it home after lifetimes of searching. You don't complete each other because you were never incomplete. You complement each other. Their presence doesn't fix your life. It amplifies the joy you already created in it. Their love doesn't patch up your wounds. It honors the strength you built by healing them. This kind of love is sacred, not because it's dramatic or intense, but because it's honest, effortless, rooted in self-awareness and mutual respect. It's the reward for all the inner work, the prize for finally choosing yourself, the divine alignment that shows up after you stop settling for chaos in the name of connection. So if you're still in the middle of your healing, if you're still peeling back the layers, still learning to sit with your pain, keep going. Because when you've done the work, when you've made peace with your past, when you've fallen in love with your own presence, that's when your person arrives, not to rescue you, but to rise with you. The Carl Jung Challenge. So here's the challenge, not just from me, but from life itself. Stop searching for love. Start searching for you, because the love you're craving, the deep, safe, soul-shaking connection you dream about at night, it's not hiding in someone else, it's hiding in you, the person you're hoping to find. They can't meet you until you meet yourself. And not just the polished parts, not just the goals, the smiles, the strengths. I'm talking about the parts you've buried, the fears, the guilt, the shame, the wounds. Carl Jung once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens." You've been dreaming. Now it's time to awaken. Look inside. Heal the echoes. Sit with your shadows. Tear down every lie that said you're unworthy of love unless you prove something. Because here's the truth. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you've become. So if you want a love that's whole, a connection that's sacred, a partnership that feels like peace, then become whole, become sacred, become peace. Do the work. Answer your soul. And the ones meant for you. They won't just appear by accident. They'll be pulled into your orbit by the power of the energy you now carry. Not by chance, but by alignment. This is your challenge, your journey, your awakening. Are you ready? If this message hit you deep, if something inside you stirred as you listened, that wasn't by accident. Your soul needed this. It's been whispering for too long. Now it's roaring. This is your sign. This is your mirror. This is your moment. No more excuses. No more waiting for someone to come and save you. No more chasing what's running away from your worth. Now go do the work. Face the mirror. Heal what hurts. Forgive who broke you. Not for them, but for your freedom. Release what no longer fits your future and rise like the man your younger self dreamed you'd become. Because real growth? It's not loud, it's not flashy, it's done in silence, in solitude, in self-respect. If you're ready, truly ready, comment below, I am evolving. Not just as a statement, as a declaration, to the world, to your pain, to your past. Let the algorithm bring in the noise, you bring in the truth. Subscribe for more raw, soul-level truths that don't just inspire you, they transform you. Because this journey, it's not about chasing validation, it's about becoming untouchable, and it starts where it always has, from within. No dramatic ending, no fake promises, just this. You already have everything you've been searching for. Now, become the man who finally owns it.